What's up, guys? Welcome back to Among the Fence, and thank you for joining me on another Request Wednesday. My name is Aaron, and today we're going to be checking out the EP, The Process of Dissension by the band AnimalJam. And if you guys have anything you want to review, new, old album, EP, whatever, go ahead and leave a comment below letting me know what it is. We'll throw it up on the whiteboard, and we will get you squared away. AnimalJam is from Texas. I'm not really sure when they started, because there's not like a whole lot of information on this band out there. I believe that The Process of Dissension is probably their second EP, and they're call themselves an alternative rock band or emo hardcore. But honestly, if you want to get like right down to it, it'd be really specific. They'd be considered swancore, which William Swan is the guitar player from Dance Gavin Dance, who kind of started this whole funky jazz fusion hardcore metal thing. And these guys fit into that pretty well. They're not as hardcore and they're not as metal. They're a little bit more in the funk side of things. But I would definitely classify them more as swancore, and it's probably more accurate nowadays. So one thing that I noticed about this EP is that all 5 songs have their respective names, but in the parentheses, they have a little bit more of a descriptive name about what's actually kind of going on and like the theme of the song and the album. For instance, the first song is Reputation, which in parentheses is actually called New Year's Eve. And it actually goes from New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and January 2nd and January 3rd. And it kind of follows that renewal kind of emotion of what's going on New Year's Eve when you're drinking and partying and having fun. And then as it goes on, you kind of get into that, okay, the party's over kind of thing around January 2nd and 3rd. And Reputation is very, very raw, and it has a very expressive guitar riff in the intro, much like you would expect from a swancore kind of Dance Gavin Dance kind of sounding band. And the duet from the vocalist, because like I said, it sounds like Dance Gavin Dance. There's a clean vocalist, and then there's a vocalist that does distorted. And in the verses, it sounds absolutely amazing. The pre-chorus sounds a little chaotic, but it sounds really good as it flows into the chorus, which everything feels a little bit tighter, more put together. It has an awesome melody, but it doesn't really compare to the verses. The verses in this song, absolutely, they're just killer. And the guitar and the bridge, it just melts your face off. It just rips. And it goes into a final chorus, which is different. Another thing that these guys do is it's kind of like a progressive kind of take on things. As the song goes on, it changes as it goes on. So the second verse might be a little bit different. The last chorus in a song is going to be completely different style of vocals, lyrics, and music all around, which I enjoyed quite a bit as well. The second song, Spiraling, which is an interlude, and it's the only song on the album that doesn't have a alternate name to go along with it. And it kind of makes sense because it takes place after New Year's Eve. So, I mean, it's like the night where you're just spiraling out of control. And it has like this voiceover thing of somebody on an answering machine or something, and they're being very apologetic. And it flows into the third song, Desolation, which is also titled New Year's Day. I mean, we've all been there the day after New Year's Eve. And it's got this super chill intro. It gets hella groovy. And the distorted vocals have such a strong impact on this song. For instance, the first chorus is mostly all clean vocals, and then once you get to the second chorus, it's a mixture of the two, and the distorted vocals put a huge emphasis into the emotion of the song. It just makes everything so much more epic. And the third verse repeats the first verse, but it's under like a different light. There's a little bit more curiosity, when in the first verse it had a lot more punch, but now the second verse, it kind of like takes a step back. It's kind of questioning things a little bit more. Now we're on the next day, January 2nd, which is titled Transcendence, which probably has my favorite riff on this EP. It's got this it's just a very dynamic riff in the intro, but then when the verse kicks in, everything opens up quite a bit and lets the vocals just shine and power through, which carries a lot of the emotion in it. And then the pre-chorus is almost like a dreamlike state. And the cadence in the pre-chorus and the chorus, it just flows so well with the rhythm of the guitar and the drums. And then the distorted vocals, which haven't really shown up too much in this song, start coming in the bridge. And they're very fast and they're very frantic. And it really shows like this panic-like state. It's almost like this person's just really on edge, and it shows, especially in the lyrics. And the last song, January 3rd, which is also titled Resolution. I mean, we've all kind of been there where we break our New Year's resolutions by January 3rd. And I'm not sure if they're an influence to AnimalJam or not, but this song reminds me a lot of See in the Sky, specifically their song Dreamer. It has that same kind of zippy guitar riff in the intro, but once you get to the verse, things change quite a bit. It's very drum and bass heavy. It has this very smooth bass line that just kind of pops up sporadically, and you'll miss it because it blends in really well with the drums and the vocals. And the first half of the verse is mostly all clean vocals, and then when the distorted vocals come in, it's really cool because it takes a back seat and you can hear it just barely, but the clean vocals are actually echoing in the background different lyrics from the distorted vocals, which is something really cool that Dance Gavin Dance does. I fall in love with every song that they do that in. And the chorus has like this like state of acceptance. Like by the time, I guess that goes along with Resolution as well too. It just has a state of acceptance of like, this is just kind of how things are, and the narrator has accepted things for what it is. It has a super sick, just very smooth, sexy guitar solo in it as well, which I was really hoping for from these guys, considering like the jazz fusion thing. I get kind of tired of the weedly doos and the zippy sporadic kind of guitar sound, but the solo in this worked out really well and it fit into the song almost perfectly. So it's really hard for me to find anything wrong with this EP. It is very sporadic at times. The mix and the production can be a little rough around the edges, especially in areas where it just doesn't really seem like they did these things on purpose. For instance, like sometimes the vocals will kind of get a little bit quieter behind the mix when just a few seconds ago they were in front of the mix. So it's more of a production thing, at least for me. Again, they might have done that on purpose. Maybe it's just, maybe my ears are going out from listening to too much music. I have no idea. But it's just mostly the rawness of this album doesn't really fit too much into the swancore kind of thing that they're going for. Just because the jazz fusion thing has just this glassy, clear, smooth sound to it. And then when you get other things that just sound really raw, they kind of clash in a way, especially when they're just so strong within themselves. When you have something that's just so passionately raw and on the edge, and then you have something else over here that's just glassy, smooth, and sparkly, and pretty, and colorful. And when you mix them together, I mean, it's the playing styles that they used are perfect for each other. Again, it's more of a production thing, I feel like it's not the notes or any of the actual songwriting that was causing this or suffering in any way. And again, maybe it's just, maybe I'm just crazy. It could be something they were going for, but to me, it just didn't really mix all that well together in the mix. Also, I don't know if too many people have been following me that are going to watch this that remember when I did a review on Dance Gavin Dance Afterburn. I did not enjoy that album whatsoever because I felt like it was missing what AnimalJam has going for it, which is passion, creativity. They still have this daring desire to push this type of music a little bit further. I feel like sometimes Dance Gavin Dance gets a little bit too comfortable in it. And other swancore bands as well, they just get a little bit too comfortable kind of doing just the weedly D's and not really exploring what they can do with it, as long as they have something that makes that sound, even though it's just becoming tiring to the listener hearing it over and over again, and they're not really changing it up too much. They're not adding anything new to any of their songs or their album when they do this. But AnimalJam, like all of these songs carry their own weight musically. All these songs are written beautifully. They don't overdo anything too much. They don't overdo any of the hardcore elements or like the fusion stuff and the clean guitar playing, even the solo. Like I was expecting maybe a solo in every single song and it was just going to be kind of mediocre, but the solos that were in this were absolutely beautiful and they fit the song. They weren't too crazy and over the top and weedly doodled. And even the distorted vocals, they were used very well in an expressive kind of way, in the same way in the clean. I mean, it's really hard to actually pick apart anything in this band in terms of songwriting, music, or honestly any type of composer kind of style. The only issues I can find with this thing is mostly just the production style. So with all that said, I gotta give The Process of Dissension by AnimalJam a 4 out of 5. That rating might sound a little weird just because I talked this band up quite a bit and then I tore them down quite a bit. But honestly, the things that these guys do right, they freaking kill it. And then things that hold them back is mostly just a production thing, which it comes down to money. Like, production is where all the money is spent when it comes to making an album. So unless if one of these guys is rich, it's still a new band. They haven't done a whole lot. I mean, they're not making a lot of money off their music, I'm assuming, and nobody's touring right now. So unless one of these guys is rich, I mean, they're just doing what they can, and it isn't really that bad. If you guys don't care that much about production, this might be a perfect score for you, but it's the only thing I can really find with it. Everything else, if it does bug you, try and look past it, because this is some awesome, awesome music. But I want to know what you guys think. Go ahead and give these songs a couple listens. You can even listen to the whole thing. I believe it's like 20 minutes long. Super chill album to listen to, at the same time as being kind of aggressive too. So it's kind of neat how it could go between the two types of moods. And let me know what you think and what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe or ring the little bell icon. That way you get notified. You don't miss out on any of my future reviews. Helps my channel out, helps me out. Especially if you leave a request for Request Wednesday. That way you don't miss out on that as well. And I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was